My name is Paris, working hard to be your favorite Paris. And welcome back. Welcome back to another entry into the Paris acronym. The last 2 days, I've went over the P and the A in my name. And today we'll be talking about remember the final expense. Now, I already know that I float through social media talking about life insurance and talking about death like it happens every day. Well, it does. But I know that the topic can be very heavy. Stick with me, and the more we talk about life insurance, the more we talk about unexpected twists, the more comfortable you will be. This is really love work. This is planning for peace for your family. So today, we're going to talk about remembering final expense. We're going to go into all of the details of that. We're going to calculate it and make sure you understand how final expense plans work. They're different than traditional whole life insurance policies or term life insurance policies. So we'll go into everything. But to kick off this conversation, I have a question that I want to talk through. And when I think about final expense, the first question that comes to my mind is what is peace of mind worth to you? Now, anytime I'm talking about insurance, whatever the day or the age is for you today, I'm planning for you to live to the age of 100. And I think sometimes we think about that generally, like, oh, yeah, every day a new blessing or anything, but what does it really look like to plan the details of living until 100 or really planning the details of final expense? And we'll dig into that today. Um, I think if we pause and really think about if yesterday or even in this moment today was our last day financially, what would that look like for the folks that depend on us or love us the most, or the folks that would be grieving us? It could be different to go in there. A lot of times you would think it would never be you, or we think we have more time, and then you see a new GoFundMe link or a new donation or a new tragic situation that needs some type of financial support. So today, I pulled a lot of stats from things of how things cost in 2024, because then that can show us how much they cost then, the stats from then, and help us plan for the future. So we're not just planning for death, we're planning to live. And I think one thing for sure that my peace of mind is worth is being able to live every day confidently knowing that if anything happened to me, my loved ones and my family would be taken care of. So think about that. What is peace of mind worth to you? A couple of different scenarios. And I feel like answering that question can change at different seasons throughout your life. Drop your answers in. But for me, um, peace of mind is knowing that my daughter has options, whether I'm here or not. Peace of mind is that if something happens to me unexpectedly, my daughter won't have to rely on family and friends to help her navigate how she wants to honor me. I'll already have that very detailed and the finances to match. Think about sometimes when I think about final expense in planning and people talk about that's not worth that, that's foolish, you're wasting your money, and it's an experience. So what's a waste really if it's planned out and it's honoring what the person wants? Okay, so think about that there. I've been giving homework the last couple of days. So one for sure right now is what is peace of mind worth to you? And as you start to name those things, a lot of times they will be kids, your work, your home, future goals, or things like that. But if you have an idea of what peace of mind is worth to you, then we can back into it and figure out how we fill those gaps. All right. So, in case you haven't caught on yet, and if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I am talking about health and life insurance. Specifically, we are talking about life insurance. And if you do the Paris acronym, let me put all the letters up and then we'll get right into R. But just to recap, feel free to check out the previous videos, but my name I turned into an acronym so that it's easier for you to plan. How we fill in these different gaps and these answers with different products will determine on you. But first, repeat, protect your income. That is when we are planning for if our income is gone tomorrow, what does that look like for our family, whether we're here or not? Remember, your income can stop for a number of different reasons. So we're not just planning to die, we're planning to live, and we want to live financially how we want to. A is for add up debts. Had a lot of good conversation around what is debt? What is the debt that will still be looking to be paid even if you pass away. So, really getting an understanding of debt that can be left as a burden. Today, we're going to dig a little deeper into final expenses because hopefully you're not a pro at paying and planning for a funeral. So, it might be a little minute before the last time you've heard that, or you might not have ever thought of the details it takes to not only plan a funeral but also pay for a funeral. I also go over what final expense is compared to life insurance. Also, tomorrow we'll be talking about include dreams and legacy. That's really where you get to dream big. I feel like once you get to the I in my name, that's when you are buying products that really are for your dreams of your life and for your legacy after you're gone. After we get all that added together, then you subtract your savings and other assets. That's the only time when life insurance through work will really count for me. But that is when we get to S. So that's a quick overview of the Paris acronym. If that piques your interest, I have it in Excel and Flyer. So if you send me a message, I can email that over to you. We also can set up time and do that together. So let's get back into, do you know what a funeral costs today? It's 2025. I'm going to use some data that I know from 2024. Some of this data I know because my mother, um, we went and got some quotes together to make sure that we had her final wishes in place. So I'll tell you one, the first quote we got from my mother, and this was a cremation without a service, without a viewing. This was supposed to be just a cremation. It was 12K. What? Excuse me? So then we got into the itemized list, and then I quickly realized that that funeral home, it was cremation, but it was very much behaving like a funeral burial. They had refrigeration. I think they had like 12 death certificates, which you need a lot of death certificates, but it was very much higher than what we actually needed. If you're here locally, Jim's Funeral Home, I use them personally, but go talk to Jim's. I don't know how much it costs today, but let me tell you, that's who will be handling my mother's services. And that's another thing too. When you think about funeral cost, you start with there. Do you want a viewing? What type of service do you want? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? Do you care about really starting with understanding what you want? But let me just throw out a couple of um, prices that I looked over and pulled from 2024, and they're accurate because they matched the real one. I'm actually kicking myself. I'm at the office. I meant to bring the actual quote so I could show you from my mom's thing, but I'll do another video on that because I don't have it today. But traditional burial with a vault. I think that's what your coffin is called. So it's not a coffin, casket, Paris, casket. It's okay. So let's see. So basic service fees. Now this is the funeral home. This is the staff. This is planning. They deserve their coins. They are handling you at the hardest day. Just for their service and fees alone, it's going to run about $2,400, $2,500. Now, that is, of course, if you're going to a big funeral home, that may vary. Gyms that I mentioned that's here local in Texas, their admin and their fees are very low because they really want to take care of the customer. Transferring remains to the funeral home. Now, that price is very different based on where you are. Are you out of town? Are you around the corner? Are you at home? Are you with family? Are you at the hospital? Different things, but that's going to start at $395. Now, I'm going to put a little asterisk, bling, bling, bling. That's my animation to this video, but now, depending on again where you're at, if you're out of town, there are different costs and different rules. So as we go through this, if you already have um, a final expense policy in place, think about if you made sure to see how that transportation will go. Embalming. Embalming, that's right after transferring, because if you have to be flown, a lot of people don't know you have to get that done before they can fly you. I don't know the exact rules. I don't have those notes with me, but certain mileage. You can't just drive someone that's passed away very far if they have not been embalmed. So there are rules around this. That is going to start at $845. So think about other makeup, clothing. Although this is your final farewell, if you have a viewing, a lot of times people may buy new clothes. Sometimes I know I've had to do clothing for some family members, and if they've been sick, they might be a different size. They might not have funeral ready clothing. So set aside about $300 for that. Are you keeping track with this list and this cost? Because baby, it is adding up. Matter of fact, I want you to be able to keep track with the math that I'm doing. So I'm going to pull up the Paris calculator and we're going to do the final expense part together. So you don't have to remember what I said because this list is getting crazy. Next, we're going to go to there has to be a staff sometimes for viewing. If you think about when you have your services, there's someone there. There's ushers. There's someone to open the door, bring the your loved one out. So staffing for day of, kind of similar. You gotta have staffing for a wedding for the viewing is about $475. Staff for the actual ceremony is $550. If you want a hearse, the hearse was running $375. Let's pull up the calculator so we can add this up. Actually, well, while that's opening, oh, and then we'll go into this one. For that total funeral, which I was going through that itemized receipt that made me go into tizzy, it came to $9,995. And that was a basic memorial. You do have a few printed materials. Printed materials is $195. And I know a lot about marketing. You're going to need a little bit more. You're going to want a little bit more for your printing and marketing. A metal casket alone was running 2,500. So yeah, right there, a little under 10K for that. So today, deep breath in, deep breath out. If that was your last one, where's your family pulling the 10K from tomorrow? 2 weeks. Tomorrow, 10K. Just for that part. Then let's move you on to the cemetery plot. We're on average Mm, depending on some small areas, starts at $775 to about $3,600 for the cemetery plot. We need to start taking it back old school. You know, you talk to your aunts, uncles, and folks like that, and they say, "Me and my husband's together. I'm in my mom's plot." Blah blah blah. All this stuff. Make sure you know where that paperwork is. Some folks, you know, there's plenty of plots that are left empty because people didn't know they existed. Great grandma didn't pay for plots for 15 people, and now we didn't pay for them again because we didn't know. You can stop by my office and get you a book for free. Something as simple as that. Make sure we keep up. Okay. So you need a liner for the grave, 900 to $7,000. Um, headstone or grave marker, 500 to $3,000. Flowers can go up. Remember that's in there. So let's just get so for a total, and I still will share this so you see what I'm talking about. Just how this Excel would work, and I'm happy to send this to you as well if you want to play around with it. Especially, hopefully, you can track. We did the P and the A already, so we protected our income. I'm sorry, I didn't share my screen. Let's do it. All right, so you've already taken care of this. You've protected your income. You have an amount there. We've added up your debts and obligations. You've had it there. And so right now I'm making faces and saying all of that about how much this costs for funerals and final expense. But I believe that you should be memorialized. So on average, let's just say if you wanted to have a casket, a viewing, a full works ceremony, on the low end, it'll cost about $14,000. On the high end, it's going to cost about 22,000. That's included. Now that's with your headstone and everything, your marker. We're all done to go. Cremation alternative is about 6,000. On the end, depending on what you need. Now, if you want a viewing, if you don't, those are different prices. But what I say just off top, if you don't know at all, you're going to, for funeral and burial, I say at least do this. At least do 15K. And remember, for final expense and medical bills, we talked about this yesterday. I actually talked about it a lot up here. I didn't put it up here, but these are the medical bills that we talked about that they can actually collect after you pass away, like your home mortgage, car loans, if you've had some recent treatments, if you were on Medicaid or government assistance, they'll try and come after the estate. So let's do that. Let's put 10K here. And normally, if anyone comes to me for final expense, we're going to start at like 15 to 25,000. And even if you can't remember all of the list of the prices that I went over, just think of if you're planning events. Let's take the loved one away. If you're planning an event, a grand celebration of life, how much does that cost? And I think I was starting to get into when people talk about whether they would have a service or not. We had a conversation at one of my seminars where the lady was saying her husband was in the community for years. He was a teacher for years. It was very important to her that she put an obituary in the paper. And when she finished and was all done with it, it was $800. And her daughter and some other people told her that that was foolish. She shouldn't do that. But she was like, people will be looking for him. And I actually thought about it's all in our mindset. I think I talked to my mom about this, how we talk about stuff that's a waste of money and things like that. And that's really kind of that scarcity mindset because we didn't plan and we have to scramble and get things together. But if you lived your life boldly and really made a mark in the world, you should be memorialized. Why not plan? Let me move the question back. Hold on. What is your peace of mind worth? My peace of mind is where I want people to be able to come and visit me and say, they miss me or whatever. So it really just depends on what you want to have to memorialize yourself. So think of all that. Think of all of the things that we went through. I'm going to take this away. That we went through that goes into the cost of completing just final expense. It's a lot, right? So now let me explain just a little bit about how final expense policies work. So I wanted to call this out specifically when we were talking about R. It has remember the final expense, you want to make a plan, how we feel that plan, how we feel that gap for your magic number might be different, but final expense policies or guaranteed policies, those are a little different. Whole life insurance covers your whole life, guaranteed premium, guaranteed death benefit, earns cash value, pays dividends. Term life insurance is for a term, doesn't grow, doesn't do anything like that. IULs, fixed index, all of those are all different type of policies. Final expense comes to those that are like over 50, let's just say over 55, older, maybe they have health issues, they just got to their senior years and they don't have any insurance. So what's different about final expense policies or guaranteed issue policies, this is when people think that they're uninsurable and I say, hey, I have something that I can do for you. Now these are going to cost a little bit more, they're not going to have any benefits. This is your final expense. So it is really going to go just towards that. Depending on the one that you get, there are some guaranteed ones that don't have any underwriting, which means they don't ask any health questions. So you're paying for that too. But what it works is it's not going to earn any cash value. This isn't something where you're looking to build legacy. This is a plan that secures and takes care of your final wishes. So what that means is you're paying your premium, whatever your cost is. So for the first year, you're paying your premium. If you pass away during that first year, most companies, for this example, add an asterisk again, they're going to pay you back all of the premiums you paid plus 10%. Now, who give you a refund with 10%? So that's really, really good if you haven't planned. After year 2, so 2 years is going to be the same like year 1. If you pass away, you'll be returned your premiums plus 10% of what you paid into that life insurance policy. 2 years and a day passed and you get the full benefit. So you cannot beat that. Most of the times people think, even me today, I did a quote today and I was expecting it to be well over $200 and it came in under $100. This was the final expense policy. And I was shocked and I proved my own self right based on the statistics. Most people think insurance products cost 3 times more than they actually cost. So I wanted to make that clear. You'll hear different agents talk about final expense versus whole life. There's so many different products. But if you're here right there and you have a senior in your life, I have a lot of older family members who are diabetics, obese, had heart attacks, had cancer, had things like that. That's when they're going to want to get a final expense policy. Okay? You want to Your peace of mind is worth not having to scramble to bury your grandparents and your parents. Your peace of mind is worth having your kids and your grandkids help pay for something like this so that it's not a burden left for them. It's all about communication. And that goes to this. I was thinking earlier, and I'm like trying to jot down with these series, like, what do I want people to take away? And for remembering final expense, a life insurance plan isn't just about money. It's your way of saying, I've got you, even when I can't be here. It's love work. This is love work. This is love conversations. So for your homework, for our homework, we're going to estimate our final wishes and the cost. You're going to call me to do the cost part, but you're going to first, let me edit that actually. Estimate your final wishes and then call Paris. So that's your homework today. Really sit and think about. I did a live with my daughter who's 12, and she was with us when we did that first quote with my grandmother at the funeral home, and they came back with that 12K, which was interesting. She wasn't really interested in talking to me and my daughter about final expense. Only my mother and her friend, who were well over their 80s, which, get it how you live. But sit down and really think about, if your last day was today, skip past all the other things. Don't worry about it. Take out all of the heaviness or fear. Just what type of celebration of life would you want? And if you don't have a huge budget, if you don't have a whole lot of assets or things like that, you should feel even more pressed to really sit down and take some time and make a plan for this, because not having clarity, not having a plan makes grieving so much harder. If you need help with having this conversation with your family, please give me a call. I'm happy to do that. I can help you have questions ready so that you're able to talk to your family. We can have you and your family member meet with me. Um, you don't save any money figuring these questions out by yourself. So I want to start back. I'm going to wrap it up all the way. If you circle back to the last two videos, you'll see our discussion about protecting your income. Then we'll hit to A, where you add up your debts. R, remember final expense, what we talked about today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, include dreams and legacy. So make sure you are following this page. And then after that, we'll talk about subtracting your savings. And then we'll start from the top again. Moving forward, some of the series, I want to talk about how we'll fill some of these gaps. So what does it look like to protect your income with an IUL, to add up your debts with the whole life and policies, maybe remember your final expense with a final expense plan, and include dreams and legacy with a annuity or another IUL depending on your age. So what I want you to take away from this is your love work looks different for you. So really sit and think about what's your peace of mind worth. And again, I want you to save this video and tag someone who needs to hear it. This is a family conversation. If you want help calculating your magic number and using the Paris acronym, or want to use that Excel sheet that I showed, send me a message and I'll get that sent over to you. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, protecting your family starts with being informed. Thank you so much for dreaming with me.